Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, and let's start off in the car wash. One of my favorite things to do. Seems a little silly, but you know, I like a clean car, and this little drive-through thing, you pop on the conveyor, it sends you through, gets it nice and clean. So this is a monthly subscription, it's like 20 bucks a month. Wash it once every day. Go check out your local car wash, All American Car Wash. I think it's called All American Express Car Wash in Chino. If you're in the area, definitely check it out. It's worth it. Topic for today. Something's kind of been on my mind about education. More specifically about the country's, and I'm talking about the United States, the country's investment in education. So, with our elections recently completed, there was a lot of talk. There's always a lot of talk about socialism, communism, and all these other buzzwords that people use, even though they have no idea what they're trying to say. But like social programs, and I think that's really what the people who like to throw around and use the term socialist and communist as derogatory terms on people, I think they're really referring to social programs, and how they really seem to not like them. And especially if it's for immigrants. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that, but I really wanted to, I guess, throw out some thoughts about education. And like I said up front, about the investment our country makes in education. Now, all through kindergarten through 12th grade, through high school, it's paid for. Where the money comes from exactly, I'm not sure. State level, federal level, I'm sure there's a blend in there. I'm not really sure how all that plays out, but it's publicly funded. Nobody seems to have a problem with that. That's okay. I guess it's been in the system so long, and that's what most people these days, that's what they were born into, and nobody really questions it. But isn't that a social program as well? Are we not educating people from taxpayer money? I believe we are. So how about we take that a little step further? You know, why are we doing that? Do we really need to have everybody have a high school education? What's the importance of that? Now, I don't think anybody's really questioning that, but it is, in my opinion, important to understand why do we even do it to begin with. And I'm not sure where it all started from. Maybe it was to get the farmers' kids into school, and this was the only way to do it. And I have no idea. I'm being silly with it. But you know, if people had to pay for their kids' education, there would be a lot of people who would not be educated. And who would they be? They would be the poor. They're the less fortunate. And that doesn't mean they're broke. It just means they don't have spare money to throw towards educating their kids. So, you know, they got to pay for housing and food and all that fun stuff. And only the rich, the well-to-do, the people that, you know, have done well for themselves or been born into it, you know, are going to be educated. So you can see where that would be a very lopsided country, especially when it comes to education. So I guess at some point there was an agreed upon, hey, we got to get them through 12th grade. Okay. And at some point, having a 12th grade education was good enough. That can get you out in the world and make you competitive, or at least you're on the same footing as most other people in the country. And a lot of jobs would just require a high school diploma. Well, there you go. You got your high school diploma. Things changed. A lot of the more technical or professional positions out there required a bachelor's degree. Before my wife and I opened up a facility, I did software testing. Did various levels, different things in software testing, web testing, mobile testing, different things. And I was part of, hiring many different people over the almost 3 decades that I was in it. And it was always kind of an unspoken, sometimes spoken, I guess, understanding that you had to have a degree to even really be considered for a test position, just to be a tester, or what we call the QA person, quality assurance. There wasn't a degree in quality assurance. There was computer science degrees, but that's kind of like what the developers would get. So if you got yourself a computer science degree, most likely you're going to go try to be a developer. And what came a little bit later, and something I did, was automation. So that does involve programming development, and you're writing code to test other code. A lot of fun, but I won't go into that. Maybe another time I'll talk about automation. But like I said, we did require a degree. So if you have a computer science degree, more than likely, maybe you're a developer of some sort, database engineer, something along those lines. If you don't have a computer science degree, then you're welcome in the QA world. You're welcome with a computer science degree too, as well, obviously. But that just kind of shows you, it's like, at least in my industry that I was involved in, a degree was required. Now, we got some people through that didn't have a degree. Now, if their experience just was so extensive and they held some very reputable positions and proved that they've done, extensive stuff. And you can tell when you start talking to somebody, you can tell if they've really done it or not. Then the experience would be enough. But let's I don't want to dig into just that industry. Just let's think about this as a country. So high school diplomas are just not cutting it anymore. I guess unless you want to do something that's more, I don't want to say menial. I don't want to have anything that sounds derogatory, because it isn't. This country is built on many levels of expertise and knowledge, and sometimes a degree is not necessary. You don't need a degree for everything. Sometimes it's a waste. I don't think it's always a waste. I think it's good for education. It's good for the mind. But where do we go with that? So, sorry, I'm pausing here. There's just a lot of traffic and a lot of different movements. Just want to make sure I don't get killed here. Looks like we're clear now. So, if you want to be competitive, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, if you want to be competitive in this country, you really do need a degree. And we do have a lot of people coming from other countries on work visas. And I'm no expert on work visas, but I do believe that you do have to prove that you are coming for a critical job, or a job that employers in this country are in need of, and you possess this expertise and this education in order to fulfill these positions, and then you can get approved for these visas. That's my understanding. So now a lot of these companies will hire people from out of the country. I mean, they just get a work visa. They're probably making a lot less than an American citizen who lives here permanently. And they're highly educated and highly knowledgeable. So how do you compete with that? Well, you got to get yourself more educated. You have to become more knowledgeable. You have to keep up. You have to keep up with them. So let's look at that as in a general sense for this country. And we're not just talking about the software industry, just any industry, really. Any industry that can tap into the global workforce, you got to keep up. You still got to keep up if it's just domestic workforce, because even the domestic workforce, there's enough people that are progressing with their education and whatever, certifications, self-taught, anything. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. So given, and I think most people can really, like, if they're really involved with this and they understand what it's like out there in the working world, which most adults do, it's clear that you need to separate yourself from just the average person. And even today, the average person probably has a degree, some years of experience, some certifications, things like that. Okay, so enough about me yapping about all that. So what do we do as a country? Are we still good with just, hey, 12th grade education, get that high school diploma, that's all you need? Now, the heck with you, get out there in the real world and go get it. You know? Well, go get what? You know? Why don't we invest as a country in our people? Doesn't have to be a degree. A lot of trades out there. Why don't we help? Why don't we make that part of, you know, what's offered? It's not required. You know, you don't have to go to college. You don't have to learn a trade. You don't have to go to some school that's going to teach you how to do something. You don't have to. But why don't we invest to do this? Our country will be better off. We'll be stronger. We'll be able to compete globally. Right now we can't. Right now we depend on a global workforce, especially when it comes to the technical world. You know, you're talking about all the software development. You know, I like I said, I've spent 3 decades in that world, and I would say American-born workers were definitely the minority. Most of the staffing was done, I would say Chinese and Indian were probably 2/3, close to 2/3 of the total workforce. Now again, you know, you go to different places and you're going to see different ratios, and this isn't about it's good or bad. I think it's good. I think competition is good. It's kind of what America's built on. It's built on competition. Isn't that what capitalism is all about? You know, you got somebody over here who wants to try to make the same product you're making, but they're going to make it better and cheaper, and that's going to make you try to do better and make it better and cheaper. We need to look at this the same way. You know, that's kind of how I looked at it when I first got into the field. You know, I saw the writing on the wall. I saw the competition. I saw where things were moving. So I got myself educated when it came to development. I didn't know anything about development, even though I did some programming stuff way back when I was in high school. We're talking way back. We're talking when it was basic programming. I did some Fortran. Was starting to learn some COBOL on the mainframe. That was no fun. I remember my saying back then. I think I was 17 at the time, trying to learn this because I'd go at night school. And I remember saying, COBOL is boring. That was kind of my motto. It wasn't necessarily boring, but I was learning these languages back to back. I learned BASIC first, and then I learned Fortran, and then I was going into COBOL. And it's the same teaching, to try to learn it. Let's do a hello world, and let's try to do this. Let's create an array, it was just the same stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm so tired of it. It's just different syntax. It's like, okay, so by that point I was done. I was bored. I really just wanted to learn some programming to make some games. And I did a little bit on my, what was it? The VIC-20. Yeah, VIC-20, and I had something else. What was after that? I forgot what it was. But God, I've distracted myself with that. But yeah, so I think it's a good thing that we have a diverse global workforce that comes into this industry, and I think into other industries. I think it's a good thing. We need to embrace that and invest in it, and be a top country in that. These people from other countries, where do they go to get educated? They come to the United States. They come to the American universities and colleges. What does that tell you? It's like, okay, you want the American education because you want to come work in America? We're already here. Come on, let's invest in this. Let's do this. That's what makes sense. But I think we get a lot of pushback from people on that one. Kind of going back to what I was originally saying when I started this, with the election that just happened, you heard a lot of people that really spoke up. I'm going to say mainly on the right. I'm sure there's people on the left that feel this way too, and to a degree I might, relate to the feelings, but they don't want to pay for everybody else's stuff. It's like, okay, enough. You pay your way, I'll pay my way. Why are we having to have all these programs that we're paying for everybody else to do everything else? Why? And say somebody my age, I'm going to be 58 here shortly. My kids are adults now. There's no more, there's no more middle school, elementary, high school for my family. Maybe at some point I have grandkids, and maybe that comes into play. But in the meantime, do I want my tax dollars going towards paying for elementary schools so other kids can be taught? The answer is yes, I do, because I do believe in investment in this country and in our society. But I can see where a lot of people don't want to do that forever, like student loans. That's a big thing right now. Well, it's probably going to be a big thing for a while. There's a lot of people that don't want taxpayer money to pay off people's student loans. I get it. You agreed to take on a loan to pay for your education, pay your loan. I get it. I got a bunch. My wife has a bunch. My daughter has a bunch. The thought of the government coming along and saying, boop, no more debt, sounds pretty good. We know where the money comes from. It comes from taxpayers. Right or wrong? I don't know. I would say in this case, it would probably be wrong, because that wasn't the agreement. That's not how we walked into this and being in this debt. But going forward, I think this stuff should be covered. Education should be covered. We're investing in ourselves. Higher education, trade schools, that stuff, that should be covered. Let's educate everybody. Let's get them skilled. Because if you don't, let's say we don't do this as a society. And remember when I mentioned about, if we never paid for education, who would be the educated? Only the well-to-do, well-off, the rich, they would have the education. Well, in this case, they are the ones who have the higher education, meaning college degrees and whatnot, or you got people who are strapped in massive debt to pay for these loans. So you're heavily in debt, or you're well off and you can pay off these things. Is that what we want? Are we going to be thinking like, yeah, go, we're not paying for your computer science degree, you go pay for it, and then you can go get your developer job and you can make your 6 figures, and why should we pay for that? I get that. I understand that piece of it. Hold on, I'm kind of blind here with the sun right in my face. But you know what? Think about if a college education was free, how many people in this country would be able to become developers at that point? Now, if you have a glut of programmers in this country, I'm sure they could pay a whole lot less than they do now and find some very skilled people. So maybe that would change that, but that's okay. With that change, other things change. Other things open up. It's not just, the salary for developers is going to go down in the world. It's over now. That's not how it works. But anyway, sorry for the little hesitation with my talking, but there's a lot of people that are just I don't know what's going on here. I don't know where you're going, guy. You got somebody who's like blocking the turn lane here and has I don't know what he's trying to do. Okay, there he goes. I don't know what he was waiting for. Really wasn't any cross traffic, but anyway, I'm moving now. We're all happy. Trying to not lose my thought process here. Kind of broke my train of thought. It'll come back here in a second. I know I was talking about, paying for the education. Oh yeah, about the developers' salaries dropping if there's so many programmers. But there would be other fields. There would be more of a skilled labor force. I know that employers would then be looking like, hey, we can do more things. We can do other things. Because I know there was always trouble finding good people in the software industry. It was always difficulty. And now with AI, artificial intelligence, and don't forget quantum computing. Wait until that kicks in. And I don't know if it'll be my lifetime, but when quantum computing kicks in and AI is going to be a lot further along than it is now, I don't want to say it's going to be scary times. Yeah, no, it's going to be a scary time. That's another video. Maybe I should have talked about that today, but that's okay. There's going to be other videos. But let's not worry about, what's going to happen like with the salaries if there's so many developers. Let's get people educated. And that's just my opinion. I think we need an educated society, skilled society. Hey, if you want to be a plumber, you want to be an electrician, you want to be a carpenter, you want to do any of this stuff, I'm all for it. We need that. You want to do cement, you want to pour driveways, you want to pour definitely we need that. Get skilled in that. Get good in that. I think it's wonderful. I think it'd be great. And why don't we pay people? Why don't we just pay them to do this? It's maybe not pay them like a salary, but pay for the training. Offer this training. Anyway, I think that's where I'm going to stop for now. Here again, I've gone about 25 minutes. Yeah, I can talk for days. Good thing for you guys that this is just me doing these videos while I drive, and I'm only driving here. But yeah, let's invest in our future. Let's invest in our people. I think we'll get a lot back in return. I think it would make this country stronger, less vulnerable. Yeah, we got a mighty military, but sometimes you got to get strong up here. Not just here. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe leave some likes, some subscriptions, or whatever if you like me. If not, no hard feelings. Till next time, bye.